In precisely 7.5 minutes after that, you're going to bring us two more. Then two more after that every 5 minutes until one of us passes the fuck out.
Excellent strategy, sir.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Welcome back to Boss Uncaged podcast. So today is a random, out of nowhere. I'm going to do a live workshop just because I got things that I need to do, and I've gotten a million different questions about random stuff that I do. Like the other day in my networking group, they was like, "We don't see how you have enough time to do all this stuff." That's one of the things that people say. Another one that people say is like, "Well, like who's designing some of your stuff?" And I was kind of like, because I have a graphic design background. Well, I kind of design some of my own stuff, and I have a team that helps me once I kind of get the thing set up and get the template squared away. So today you get to hear like all facets of behind the scenes, behind my like the way I actually do things, and you may hear me say some crazy shit from time to time. I may start talking to myself. I may twitch out. Don't be alarmed. You don't have to call anyone for me. You don't have to send me any medication. Everything is going to be all right. This is just what I go through when I'm just designing. So the goal is right now, I think yesterday I made an announcement. I was like, okay, what would it look like for someone to release 2 books? And that's someone, I was like, well, I'll try it, right? I'm not going to be the first. I'm not going to be the last to release 2 books, nonfiction books, on 2 separate topics at the same time. So I did the comparison with the podcasting book a couple of weeks ago, got a lot of solid feedback, and I posted like what it was going to look like. So, and I was like, okay, like I got a speaking engagement coming up in October about podcasting, 2 of them. And I was like, okay, I can get this book done by then. And then I was like, well, shit, I got a speaking engagement in September with SEN about branding. And I was just kind of like, I already had like this book kind of sitting there on the shelf, kind of outlined, set up, ready to go. And I was like, well, let me go ahead and start designing the cover for that. So I started designing the cover the other night, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay, today, because I'm like literally high on caffeine. I only drink caffeine like once a month now, and this is the one day that I decided to drink caffeine. So I am twitching something serious. Hence why I'm doing this video. And my goal of this video is to kind of show you behind the scenes. This should be streaming on all my usual platforms, and I'll probably pull up Facebook on one of my screens, so that way if you have any questions, comments while I'm doing this, I can kind of look over and you know talk to you about what I'm doing and why I'm doing. Let me go ahead and pull up Facebook and go ahead and mute that bad boy. So the goal here is that I'm going to go over the concept briefing of what am I designing, why am I designing it, kind of like the concept behind the book. And then what I'm going to do is make an alternate copy of the book, alternate design, and then I don't know, I'm going to make some marketing material. So in this case, I may make like a sticker or a banner or something like that. The program that I'm going to be using today is Illustrator, and I'm just going to literally go in. I'm not going to do a tutorial on how to use Illustrator because, again, like I went to school for this shit. Like literally, I don't know how many Illustrator classes that I took, so this thing just comes second nature to me. It's just going to be more so me kind of just throwing up my ideas and my thoughts, what's working and what's not working as far as the layout, as far as the colors, and hopefully this will kind of give you some ingenuity to like the way I process things, and hopefully it'll give you some insight to what you can do on your own or when you're designing, things that you need to look out for, things that you need to be mindful of. And again, this is just, it's a live workshop. I'm just going to go in. So first of all, let me just make sure we got no comments or anything already off the bat. All right, we're looking like we're good. So first of all, I'm going to turn off my lights. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to go into the damn zone, and I'm just going to start talking about the concept behind that. So, hey, Google, turn off boss. Give Google a second to handle that. Hey, Google, turn off Office. She's always trifling. She does not know her name sometimes. Sure. So it's kind of weird when I'm talking to a damn artificially intelligent device. It's craziness, but I love it at the same time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to Illustrator. All right, you should be able to see my screen live and clear, and you kind of see there's multiple things going on here. Do not be alarmed. There's not going to be that crazy once I zoom into it. So on the right-hand side, you kind of see the podcasting book workbook, and that was kind of coming back from the feedback that I got from everyone about the purple book versus the white book, and I just decided, okay, like it's split down the middle. I'm going to do a purple book and a white book. The white book is going to be the workbook, and the purple book is going to be the actual the book that you will actually purchase and read handheld. But the goal is you could actually purchase both of them. They'll go side by side. One of them will be 8.5 by 11, and the other one will be 6 by 9. So it comes in as a set, right? And again, if you're thinking about like marketing strategies and campaigns, once I kind of seen the feedback, I was like, okay, as a marketer, how do I leverage this? Like half the people like the white book, half the people like the purple book. I can't satisfy everyone, so I took the top level changes and the requirements, and I made the adjustments to both the white and the purple. And then I was like, well, shit, since this is going to be rolled into a course, rolled into workshops and everything else, then I might as well make a workbook to go side by side with the actual physical book. So by default, you end up with two SKUs. Content will work with each other, obviously, but one of them will give an opportunity for the person that's reading the physical book to write down notes, answer questions, and take action on what they're learning in the other book, right? So this is just from my point of view, from an educator and from a marketer, it only makes sense if you're going to do books like this to then make two of them at the same time and get feedback. And if I didn't get that feedback, maybe I would have made the workbook, right? But again, you as the person that gave me the insight, as the people that are commenting on my particular post, I was like, it only makes sense. Let me go ahead and do it. And obviously the workbook could be like $3 printed online. Maybe it's a 24-page thing that kind of goes parallel to the physical book, but again, it gives an opportunity for you to have your notes live inside of a secondary document versus writing in the actual book. So diving into the new brand book. So the podcasting book is on the right and the new brand book. And let me zoom in on it so you can kind of see it. Let's get the craziness and the elephant out the room. Yes, that is sperm all over the book. The book is a sticky, icky, glow in the dark concoction from my mind. Like those of you have heard me speak about branding and brand babies and the O face, and if you've ever missed that opportunity, I would definitely recommend you come out to the SEN Success Champions Network Success Summit coming up next month, where I'm going to do an entire workshop. And this is like 100% on branding, so you can kind of get a little insight to that, but obviously I'm not going to talk about the topic matter right now. But generally what I talk about when I'm talking about branding is brand babies. And I always try to make brand babies a thing that is comical when you think, what the hell is a brand baby and why is there sperm on the cover? And I always kind of define it as it's co-branding, and co-branding is much like co-parenting or much like having a relationship. You could find someone that's physically attractive, sexy, and everything else, but they have no mind or whatever. It's the same thing with business. The business could look sexy as hell on paper, but behind the scenes, there's like, there's jacked up paperwork, or the books are messed up. So again, visually it may look great, but then you may not want to partner with them because once you really know who they are, they're not the ideal person to partner with. And that's why I was talking about brands in the form of babies. And obviously I'm writing this book in that fashion. So I decided to, like, this will be book number 10. Book number 9 will be the Uncaged podcast, doing this joint launch. And I was like, I'm just going to include you guys on a journey and kind of give you some more behind the scenes of how I process and how I think about the things that I'm doing and why I'm doing them. So with the brand babies being book 10 and then volume 1 of that particular collection, and I was just trying to figure out, okay, brand babies. Now I remember about maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I first started working with Amazon voice devices and creating like online representations of the brand baby when I first came up with this concept. And I came up with like this brand baby game. It was kind of like asking the question, if these two brands had sex, what would the name of the baby be? Can you guess it? And going back into what I just said about, partnerships and finding the right person, then ideally, then everything came to fruition. I was like, okay, I'm going to name this book Brand Babies. Uncaged Brand Babies, the essential branding guide to develop successful personal, business, and product brands. And if you heard me speak before, I speak about personal, business, and product brands as all three of them are equally yoked to come together to build up what we refer to and call as a business. And I always use the ideology that says that Steve Jobs was a personal brand. Apple is a an actual company, a brand that you know. And then the iPhone is a product brand. iTunes is a service brand. So having these unique brands within a business, and obviously like Apple's is not the only company that's doing that. If you think about Microsoft, they do it. If you think about Facebook, again, all these different companies are doing different level of brand strategies and different levels of branding. So with that being said, what I decided to do with this Brand Baby book was like, how do I depict that? Like, how do I make it bold as hell, right? How do I make it to where it's borderline damn offensive, it's comical, but at the same time, when I came on and I said the sperm cover is sticky icky, that's what I want the person to feel. I want them to feel like, what the hell, why, what? And then when they hold on to the book, I do not want them to let go. And again, they always say don't judge a book by its cover. That is complete bullshit. Obviously, everything is a factor when you're creating and developing books. The color of the book, the look and feel of the book, like whether it's glossy or matte, whether the paper is cream or white, whether you're using a serif font or sans serif font, whether you're using bold or non-bold, italic. All of that shit matters to the intellect of the actual person that you're targeting for this book. Let me get some water real quick because, obviously I'm going to be talking a damn lot more than I used to on the podcast. So the concept here with Brand Babies, obviously I was like, okay, before with the podcasting book, I did a white cover and a purple cover. Now, ideally, I did that as a usability testing, A/B testing to kind of get some feedback, and I'm going to do the same thing with this book. So if you're seeing this video, don't be alarmed if you see a post within like the next 7 to 10 days or whatever that has what we're going to create today, both a purple one and a white one with like purple sperm on it. And the goal is that everyone has different point of views. Like my point of view is that from a systematic standpoint, understanding the way Amazon works, that I know that the purple book, even though the white book may look a lot cleaner, the purple book is going to sell better on Amazon because the Amazon has a white background. But I still like to get the input of the people, hence why we ended up with 2 book covers for the podcasting. So ideally, we'll probably end up with the same for this book cover as well. So the concept behind it, I try to keep the concepts universal, and I try to take something that people are familiar with iconology, and then what I try to do is kind of reinvent it and push it to a little limitation. So ideally, you see sperm, you think egg, right? You've seen the light bulb before, you've seen the light bulb with the brain in it before, and I was like, okay, both these things are very familiar. You've seen them utilized on marketing strategies independently of each other, but how do I bridge them together without telling the actual person what this concept should portray to them? So by default, the sperm is very simplistic. Every person on the damn planet, pretty much at any age, understand what sperm's functionality is, and they understand what the egg's functionality is. So thinking of this light bulb as being central as the egg, that's essentially getting pregnant by the co-parenting or by the partnership of these businesses, and looking at the brain, the structure, going back to like my original brand, Cerebral 360, all about intellect. So like the mothership is kind of like where everything is. That's where everything happens. And it kind of goes back to the nucleus of the cell, the mitochondria being the power of the cell, and then having that idea. And hence why I said I'm going to use the light bulb. And then the sperm cells are all trying to penetrate this actual egg, or in this case, the light bulb, the thought, the concept. And you can kind of see, okay, what is this sperm cell actually doing, right? The sperm cell is integrating into the actual egg, into the brain. And on top of that, brain is infused with Boss and Cage. I'm pulling all these different ideas and all these different concepts all within the structure of this cover. But the average person may look at it and be like, okay, visually, it looks good. Visually, it's balanced. Visually, the colors are bold. Visually, it's not something that you would generically see in a nonfiction business book, but it has the clarity and the dynamicness that those books are required to have in that section. So I'm playing and I'm pushing and pulling with the emotional side and the colors. And again, all this shit is what I've learned as a graphic designer, and I've owned it over the past 20 something years, right? So The back cover is very similar to the podcasting cover, and I think this just is going to be like my standard cover because it gives me enough opportunity to make the font bold, put the volume number, do the redundancy of the branding of the front cover on the back cover. And I'm going to scroll over to the podcast. You kind of see the redundancy, right? So you have the rocket ship microphone with the three RGB colors behind them, and then I'm bringing those colors on the top left, and it's centralized. It's very clean, and it gives me just enough room to fill in the content or the description of the book. And I was just like, well, why the fuck did I not do that in my first damn books? Like, again, a lot of times this may not happen until you get, I'm not going to say you get to book 9 or 10 like I am, but ideally as you're working through book variations and book covers, you want to have something that's synergistic so that way all your books start to have that same look and feel, but they're dynamically different from each other. So if I was to put these two books on the shelves, well, obviously I'm using the same fonts. I'm using the same linear grid system, right? It's a central thing. There's some rounded corners, the same fonts, the same color treatments to a certain extent, but there are distinctly different concepts and just different looks and feel. But if you end up getting 5 to 6 or 7 of these books as time progresses, you will be able to tell that that's a Uncaged branded book, which goes 100% with brand continuity. Like, I'm not changing the fonts, right? I'm not changing like the illustration styles. I'm keeping that all systematically done. So as you see more books progress, by default, when you see them, you're going to know that they're all Boss Uncaged. So that's one thing that you don't want to go from a real picture to a fake picture, then to an illustration, and you have all these different variables and shit going on. You're losing your brand continuity. Like, once you have a brand and it's established and that shit is working, do not change it or break it trying to fix something that does not need to be fixed. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that idea and that concept and I'm making it work in that realm, but I'm giving it different looks and feels, right? So I'm following the same rules and same regulations. On the back, the copy is the copy, and then obviously decided to, instead of putting a headshot of myself, again, cross-marketing, I'm always thinking about how do I continue to market down that pipeline. And a lot of people, when they do book covers, they may forget about this, right? You may put a picture of yourself, but what does that picture of yourself really do? It tells the person that you wrote the book. Whoopee fucking do. In this case, I'm saying this is a podcast cover, right? And then I also have the link to the podcast on here. So worst case scenario, if someone picks up the book, they may look at the link and I may get another listener even if they don't purchase the book. Keep that in mind. Again, you always have to think about cross-marketing. And then once they click on that link, when they go to the link, they'll see the same exact cover. It makes perfect sense, right? And obviously with a podcasting book, it makes 100% sense, right? Because I'm talking about podcasting and I'm a podcaster. And obviously, I'm a podcaster that's really into branding. So it makes sense to put that here as well. And the QR codes, since COVID, is your best friend. If you do not have a QR code on the back of your book, in your book, and throughout your book, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. And the reason for that is, again, if somebody picks up the book, you want to give them opportunity to convert. They may not purchase the book, but if they scan that QR code, then either I'll have them go to an opt-in, make them get a special offer, or link to other information about the book. Because again, it takes somebody somewhere between 3, 7, 8, 9, 10 times before they actually convert. They have to see it repeatedly. So you can kind of see I've done that to a point, right? You see the logo, 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 you see the logo. I am subconsciously embedding that brand in that person's mind by sneaking that logo in repeatedly locations that are key locations to the design. And again, you can see that in all my designs, right? If you look to the right, it's the same shit. It's the logo, right? And again, you may not even realize the logo is in the microphone, but there it is. The logo is in Uncaged. That's all part of the iconography of the actual brand. There it is again. There it is again. And again, on my QR codes, I make sure I put the logo in there as well. Because again, they're going to take a picture of it. They're going to scan it. And then they may not even be thinking about the logo. They're thinking about the result of scanning the QR code. But the logo is in their camera when they're scanning it. Again, hit them in their psyche again and again and again and again. I don't know how many times I got to repeat that. Like, if you have opportunities to put your brand on something, then brand the hell out of it. Why would you limit yourself from putting your brand on items when the reality is that's what the world is completely surrounded by? Pair of Nike shoes. How many times is the Nike logo on the box, the paper, the tongue, the bottom of the shoe, the side of the shoe, the inside of the box, the paper inside the damn box, the card inside the box, damn, even on a receipt? Like, how many times do you see that Nike logo? So you have to keep that in mind, that you want to make sure that you have that information collectively across the board. All right, let me see. Was that a comment on Facebook? Just double check it. No. Nope, no comment. Cool. All right. So I am going to clone this bad boy over. And again, I am not going to teach you how to use Illustrator. I am just going to do it. If you have any questions while I'm doing it, feel free. But I'm just going to zoom out a bit. I'm going to delete the bottom section because that's old. So the reason why I'm deleting this one, because this was the first one that I set up. But as you can see, the back cover is different than the real back cover that I'm going with. So I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to also select the, so you see these boxes, this artboard. And again, sometimes my documents are well organized, and sometimes I'm just throwing concepts out there, and you guys kind of caught me in the middle of a really developed document that's not completely labeled and organized 100%. But once it's done, it's going to be completely organized and labeled 100%. So these artboards, this one is a 6x9. So when I export this out as a PNG, it's then going to give me just the front cover. The entire width, which is this artboard, is going to give me the front cover and the back cover. And you can see I'm missing the spine. So that's why I'm deleting this one, because I don't have a spine. So when I'm creating like the 3D renderings that you probably see me do on Facebook or Instagram or any other platform, that spine is this one. See that number 13 at the top? Like in the little blue box around it, like that's the spine. So I need that to be exported out as a separate PNG, so that way I could have all three of these images and I can create any 3D renderings that I want to on the fly. So I already have this template set up in all my book cover documents, and it also allows me to adjust the spine, because again, most of my books are roughly right around 180 pages intentionally. Kind of goes back to my brand of Cerebral 360, and I always try to make all my books literally half of that or a quarter of that, so it'll be 90 or 180. So if it is 180, then this spine is absolutely correct for it, because again, inside of Amazon, when I upload it, it's going to ask me for spine and all this other stuff. And again, if my cover does not have the right spine width in it, it becomes an issue to where they're going to try to fix it and they're not going to fix it correctly, and then the spine may shift to where the title may be on the back cover, it may be partially on the front cover. So ideally, like, you want to have a spine that's adjustable, so that way when your page count, again, I stick to 90 and 180 because again, I already have these spines set up and I can easily make the book fit into that requirement by either cutting pages or adding pages to it. And again, it makes for continuity as well. So I'm going to go ahead and select this bad boy. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to delete this bad boy here. And then I'm going to delete this purple box in the green, and I think some of the sperm could actually stay. So that layer is locked, so I need to unlock that layer. Where the hell is my layer palette? That's the other thing I got going. I got so many damn monitors right now, so give me 1 second. Let me find my layers. Got my layer palette, and I'm just gonna unlock it. Alright, so I should be able to select it now. Yep, now it's selected. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that, and I'm gonna delete this green bad boy as well. Delete that as well. If you're logging into this particular video, because I mean, obviously, you know, it takes a minute for some people to log in. I am working on designing my book 10 cover design and doing variables of it. So again, obviously, if you missed the first part of this, that's where we are. Today is just like a random live workshop. If you have any questions, I have Facebook up and running, so you can definitely ask questions in there or make comments, and you know, I'll respond live if I see it pop up. But you know, again, I'm in the dark and I may zone out from time to time when I start working on this, but I'm going to try to keep myself talking so I can kind of talk through this so you guys know what I'm thinking, why I'm doing, and what I'm doing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the artboard tool, and I'm going to select those three artboards. I'm going to select the front cover, the entire thing, and the spine, and then I'm going to drag it and copy it over. And so the reason why I'm doing that is because, again, I just want to make a variable of the colors. And that's not good. It looked like it did something that it shouldn't have done. That's the problem when these documents get pretty complex. You start to get issues, and obviously, you know, you could use InDesign to do this as well too. I just prefer Illustrator because, again, my designs usually lean towards more vector. All right, perfect. So you can see these 3 borders are all selected, and I'm just going to hold down shift and I'm going to drag this bad boy, and it's going to copy everything as it was. Well, hopefully everything, as long as I have no lock layers, it should copy it verbatim. So now I have 2 of the same exact covers. Just to scope it out to make sure everything looks roughly the same. Everything does look roughly the same. So the next thing I'm going to do is, first thing I want to do is make the sperm. And if you missed the comment about the sperm, it was just kind of like talking about brand babies. And obviously, brand baby is essentially a co-parenting situation between companies and corporations. So I have just visually created a representation. Kind of goes back to my first book, Fuck Failure, Seduce Success. It's funny how things come around, they go back around. I'm just not naming the book that title. It's about a different topic. But you better to believe, if you ever read that first book, and the reason why I think that first book was so successful, because it was 100% me. Like, literally me. I said some shit in that book that would make you think twice, and you would laugh and you'd be like, no, he didn't. Yes, he did. This book is going to be that as well too. I mean, right away in the first chapter, I addressed the fact that the book has sperm on it, and it should be sticky, icky, and it should stick to your hands, because obviously that's what sperm does. Think about that for a minute. All right, so back to the book, right? So I'm going to select my purple color. All right, so I'm selecting the sperm, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit I, and that I essentially changes it to a eyedropper tool. And what I'm going to do is make all that sperm that's currently white purple. So now all the sperm that was purple is currently white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this background, which is purple, and I'm going to select the gray background from the podcasting book cover. And you kind of see how, yes, it looks way cleaner without the sperm on there, but the sperm messes with the psyche. It kind of is like, what the hell? If it doesn't say what the hell, it's not causing an emotional reaction. This just looks, oh, this looks clean. This looks nice. I don't want that. I want somebody to be like, what the hell? Okay? And I want them to pick up the book. And once you get the book in their hands, that's when the magic happens, because then they're going to break the spine. They're going to flip through the pages. They're going to turn it over in the back of the book. If the book is just okay on the front, they may or may not pick up the book, right? They may or may not just turn to the next page, especially on Amazon. You got like 2 seconds. So if this is on Amazon and this is there in the branding section, and the people that are branders or looking for branding, usually 9 out of 10, they're more creative individuals. So when they see this, they should chuckle and be like, stop playing, and then click on it and start reviewing it or start looking through the pages. That's the goal. That's the community that I'm talking to, and I want them to be like, oh, yeah, I want to get that book. Versus if it was just the light bulb, it's okay. It's clean, but to me, that's boring. I mean, obviously, yeah, it has a green brain in it. Yeah, it has a logo, and it's one single sperm, but it does not do as dynamic or as the visual texture does with multiple different sperms. I mean, a lonely sperm is the only one that's going to penetrate the egg, but in reality, there's millions and billions of these bastards jockeying for the same position, much like millions and billions of companies all jockeying for the same job or the same client or whatever else it is. And this is all supposed to be symbolic. People will need to read into it and be able to associate to it. So I'm going to go ahead and select this gray. And now I'm looking at it from the standpoint of like, okay, what's wrong with it? Right? Because I know that the purple background with the white works because the contrasting it's awesome. Like, it has that look to it. So right away, I can tell you what's wrong with this one is that the light bulb is white. And also, like, the green in the shadows is bleeding a little bit. It's getting lost. So I'm going to have to try to figure out, okay, what do I do? I think this part in the back, I think that works. I think the purple versus the white sperm, I think that works. But I can tell you just from a design standpoint, the issue right now is the light bulb. So I need to figure out, how do I fix the light bulb? What can I do with the light bulb? I think the green inside is good. And I'm going to zoom in because, again, as you zoom in, you'll see a little bit more detail. So right away on my spine, I'm losing the copy. So the first thing I'm going to do with the spine, I'm going to go ahead and select all that type. Because obviously I want them to, if they pick up by the spine, they need to be able to see what's going on. So I'm just going to select the same purple. So that should resolve the spine. So right now in my brain, I'm doing checks and balances. I'm saying, okay, what worked in this one and what's not working in this one, how do I make them both work? Because again, I'm going to then do an A/B test. I'm going to create both these covers in 3D. I'm going to render them. I'm going to say, hey guys, pick A or pick B. This is the process behind it, but they have to essentially work on their own. That way, if 85% of people pick the purple, I'm good with that. If 90% of people pick the white with the purple, I could be good with that as well. But I have to make sure that both designs are sound. So that way, no matter which one is selected, I'm still content with whatever is selected. Again, because I'm only giving you two choices, right? If I did a third option, that's just too many choices. And again, you start to get too much data if you do a third variable. You start getting, well, I think you should take this from book 1 and take that from book 2 and take that from book 3. And then if you get that times 15 people, you have way too many variables to ever make anyone satisfied. So you give them two options, and if they decide to mix and match between those two options, usually 9 out of 10 times that's an improvement, something that maybe you have missed as a designer, and you could take that information and then input that data into your designs and update both of them and look at them side by side, and you can kind of do another A/B test generally to the public. Again, everything is A/B test, A/B test, A/B test, and it took me forever to realize that. I mean, I think Ty Cohen has said it like a million times, A/B test, A/B test, and not like, yeah, I hear him, but now I really get it. Like, if you're not doing A/B testing, you're missing out, because again, you're going 100% on your intellect, and you're not going on the people that potentially could buy your product's intellect. And the only way to do that is to do A/B testing and put that product or that image or whatever it is in front of them and let them select it over and over and over again. So I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, now the spine is fixed. And like in my brain right now, I'm talking, but I'm also thinking and processing at the same time. Like, how do I fix this purple bulb? Because I think that once I fix the purple bulb, hopefully that's going to then bring that color or that extra that the cover is missing, and then I have to deal with the green type with the shadows behind them. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to check out my layer settings to see if I have this on a multiply layer, transparency. And I'll pull it over here so you can kind of see it. So I'm just going to try to click through it because I think nothing is set on layers on this one. So this is set to overlay. So obviously the overlay on the purple kind of giving us that kind of glow, which is cool on the purple background because it has something to overlay on top of, right? But on this gray, it's losing that luster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it from overlay, and then I will jump right to multiply just to see what it does. And then obviously if multiply doesn't work, I'll go through the other options. So multiply, and you kind of see like it was subtle. It was subtle, but you can kind of see how that, I'm going to do an undo and then redo. Undo. All right, so you see how it's like white, but you really can't see the edges. You can't see the details of the actual light bulb, but the purple is very dominant. So I'm going to go back and redo blending mode. And you could automatically see that's a drastic different than what it was. Now, I still don't think this is 100% right? Because again, I want my color palettes to be almost identical as a color palette of the purple background. Right, so this is more of like a purple light bulb on a purple background with the green as the accent color. Now, with the multiply of that layer, it kind of gives me more of a blue hue. So the next thing I'm going to do is, obviously I must have something else in there that was shifting the colors around. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to shift it over. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I always count how many times I shift it over, because again, I could do X and Y coordinates at the top, or I could just count and then shift them back exactly to where it was before. So if I'm clicking on it, I can see there's another shape here, right? And this shape, I'm trying to figure out, because again, the original document had layers, and this one, when I copied it over, it didn't copy with layers. It put everything into one thing. So I'm just trying to figure out what's the coloring of it. All right. So it may be part of a group. Object. Yep, it's a part of a group. So this is the only issue that I hate when I'm doing this type of stuff, is like when you have layers. When I made the original one, it was easy. It was no problem whatsoever. All right. So this one is just an actual stroke, and I could tell because the fill has a red line in it, which means that there's no color inside, but the white outline means it is a stroke. So in the purple version, that's the stroke right here. It's like the little thin line, outer line on the light bulb. That's what's giving it that effect. So what I'm going to do is maybe if I put the purple inside versus leaving it white, that may help, right? And again, I'm just thinking out loud, and from a design standpoint, a lot of times you're just doing these, and usually you're doing them really quickly. You're just jumping between things to kind of see what works, what doesn't work. So I think the color's in there, but I could also tell you that something else is going on. It must be still with something because it's showing up lighter than it should. All right, let me bring it to the front. So what I'm doing is I'm just gonna delete it and paste it just to make sure that it's without any extra anything in it. Paste in front. So something is definitely broken, and it's not necessarily that it's broken. It's probably it merged down with another layer, and I'm just trying to get it to be the dark purple. But you can kind of see the transparency. It's on normal. So I just need to figure out, it may be a layer issue. Let me double check. But again, like design, it's perceived to be sexy, but at the same time, it's not sexy. A lot of times, it's more so troubleshooting than anything else. So I'm just turning off the bulb layer, and I'm trying to see where this is in comparison to everything else. So it's in the bulb copy, and then there's that, which is underneath the bulb, which is weird because it should have been solid purple. All right, let me select it and then try to, nope, still didn't work. So it's obviously something that I'm missing, and it's not saying it's part of a group. So you're getting to see me troubleshoot this a little bit. So it is solid purple. It's not part of a group. Transparency is normal. So what the hell is going on? All right, let me undo everything I did. Let's keep going back. Keep going back. Keep going. Shift over. I'm just waiting for this bulb. I wanted to shift back with the alignment to make sure that it's all right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy that layer with that shape. I'm going to paste it in front. I'm going to lock the gray background because what I'm about to do is select those two layers, and I don't want this background to move, so I'm going to lock it. All right, I'm going to zoom in so you can kind of see what I'm doing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to merge them together to force whatever is going on with it to go away. All right, so that's that. There we go. Let me zoom back out and see what am I capturing besides the bulb. And again, this is the type of shit that you got to deal with when you're designing. And the reality is that it's not as bad as it looks. It's just be a matter of figuring out what's going on. So what I'm gonna do is what I'm trying to do is select both of them because I know that there's two of them, but I want to make sure I'm not affecting any other layers, and I don't feel like turning off all the layer palettes, so that was just me being lazy. And plus my machine is dragging because I'm running Illustrator and streaming live all at the same time and running Zoom, and it can handle it, but Illustrator's processing makes it a little bit difficult sometimes because right now it's kind of like, dude, you got too many damn anchor points and I haven't saved. That's probably part of my issue. Let me hit save real quick. So I don't know how long this video is going to be, and again, it's just there to kind of show you guys some insight to the way I'm processing and the way I do things. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to post a random question whenever. That would be just waiting for that to finish rendering. All right, should be done here shortly. All right, so that should help free up some of our resources. So I should be able to get in there. And this is the shit that pisses me off, because like I could just move on to something else, and I'm just refusing to move on to something else because I want this to work. And I just want to grab, and obviously I can go into the layer palette and drop it down and select the individual objects in there as well, but I should be able to just highlight it like this, and that's not working. Okay, let me shift down and make sure. Yep, it's still 2. Alright, so I'm going to drop down the menu and select them manually. So when I say drop down the menu and select them manually, you can kind of see right here in that layer palette, the first layer is selected there. This is the second layer that's selected, and I'm going to select both of them. Then I'm going to say I want to merge these 2 together, so I'm going to merge them together. It's merged, and then if I need to, I can pull this bad boy out, and there we go, the actual purple that I was trying to do to begin with. I'm probably gonna put it on a separate layer just because it was a pain in the ass to deal with. I'm gonna drag it in there, and obviously I like to name my layers, but right now it's not labeled. But again, once this video is done, I should be able to clean it up a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing back the gradient highlights, and this is old school. Gradient mesh is still, I remember taking that damn class, and it was like, when will I ever use gradient mesh? And here the hell I am today using gradient mesh. Who the fuck would have known? But hey, gradient mesh is a Illustrator thing. Those that are designers that understand gradient mesh, you know how like gradient mesh is, it's the shit. Like once you know how to use it, it's the shit. So now let me zoom back out and kind of see visually what does this look like. Is it comparable to the other cover that I have above? And you kind of see, like, just by making that bulb purple, it's starting to get like that richness that the other one has above. Now obviously they're 2 separate covers because one has a white background and one has a gray background, but ideally if I can make them as close as possible in similarity, then it'll be like a simple A/B test. Like, which background color do you really like? Do you like the white background with the purple sperm, or do you like the purple background with the white sperm? That's how it should be perceived as far as the comparison and contrast. So the other thing I need to reverse out is the sperm cell that's on top of the light bulb egg. So this one. And again, the reason why I'm doing that one, because that's the one that penetrated, right? That's the one that actually fertilized the egg. So that's the important thing. And again, you just want to make it into almost like a call of action visually. It should be uniquely different. And I have an issue already because now it's white, but the logo under it is not allowing for it to show up as it should. So how do I fix that? Now, obviously, I could make the Uncaged logo purple, but I see issues with that. So now I'm at a conundrum with this white one. And again, I can go back to the purple, but again, I'm trying to make the A/B test as parallel as possible. I want things to be almost identical, but the inverted version of it as much as humanly possible. So let me go down and see what else I can do. I'm gonna come back to that because I know that's gonna be a issue. All right, so now the reason why the shadow was there on the original was because it was on a purple background and I wanted to make it jump. Now I can tell you once I make this text purple, that shadow is not going to work because it's too, if I was to make it gray, the gray behind it essentially is 40% gray, and the purple on top, let's say, is 70% gray, and it becomes muddy. You lose like the hard contrast of the lines. So I could either add a stroke or I could turn off the shadows. So in this case, 9 out of 10 times, I'm probably going to turn off the shadows to make sure that the contrasting of the letters show up as they should. So I'm just going to my color palette to select the purple, and you kind of see what I was talking about before with that purple being there, it doesn't do anything for it now because again, it doesn't need it because the purple is a contrast enough for the gray. So I'm going to go to my appearance palette and I'm just going to turn off that shadow. And you can kind of see how like down to purple is starch, it's clean, it's sharper. And I'm going to have to do the same thing for this as well. So I'm just going to kind of go through all these different elements. And I'm still thinking about that white sperm cell. How do I fix that issue? Because again, I don't want to make the Uncaged logo purple, but if I'm inverting everything, I'm just probably going to do it to see what it looks like, but I don't think it's going to visually work. And again, a lot of times you'll say something like that. You'll say it visually won't work, but until you really see it, you can't make that judgment call, and you have to actually test it out for yourself to make sure that your brain's not playing tricks on you. And again, if you've been doing it like 20 something years like I have, you can kind of guesstimate, but even still, every once in a while when I do that, I always like, oh, well, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So let me go to my appearance palette. I'm just going to turn off the drop shadow on that. You kind of see how that pops right back out. And then last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and turn off this bad boy, drop shadow, to make the green pop. And you kind of see just by turning off that shadow, it makes that font so much more legible, so much more cleaner. And this is the same thing that I did with the other book covers, right? So I mean, when you originally seen, I think I started off with the gray cover, then I made the purple, and in this case I'm making the purple first and then I'm making the gray, but the process is exactly the same. It's just kind of trying to make them as parallel as possible just by doing simple inverts. So I could also tell you that another thing that I should do, because on this one it was white, so on this one, if I'm going to invert it, I need to go ahead and make this purple and make the letters on top white. Alright, so you can start to see, again, I proved that the first cover works, systematically sound, and I'm just trying to replicate that almost identical on this back cover. On this other color, sorry, not back cover, the other color. So alright, we got that, we got this, which could be debatable if I should change that to purple or not. The white volume 1, I'll make that purple. That should work because it's on a gray background. And then, I mean, I kind of like the fact that this kind of has a shadow around it and it kind of still pops. What I may do on this one is I'll just do it and see what it looks like. So I'll probably make it purple. And I'm talking about the essay grant. I'll probably make it purple, and then I'm gonna turn off the where the hell I keep hiding my appearance palette. I'll just click on it here, and obviously I should be using shortcuts, but I'm not using shortcuts today, just so you can kind of see where things are. But so I turn that off. And let me zoom in on the essay grant part of this and kind of see what's going on. So we kind of have an issue, right? So my issue is that the purple, if I was to convert this purple to gray, and I'm just saying the gray value of this purple is roughly 70 to 80%. Unfortunately, looking at the stem of the light bulb behind it, there's a lot of 70, 80, 60%. So the R and the A and some of the G kind of gets a little bit muddy. Now obviously you can see purple over gray, but some people can't really see color, so you have to kind of think about like people that are colorblind. And at this level you can kind of see how the R, the counter, and counter is essentially the circle inside of the R, right? In this D, that's a counter, that's a counter. In this triangle in A, that's a counter. Like that helps define the lettering out besides the outside of the actual typeface in the font. So if that is not visibly clear, then the shape of the font or the letter starts to fall apart. And in this case, yes, I know it's an R, but it starts to lose the clarity of it being an R. So going back to what I said earlier, the purple doesn't work. So what I'm going to try next is then, okay, maybe I should change this purple to green just to see, for shits and giggles, see if that may work. And keep in mind, I don't want the green to start to compete with other greens because, again, there's a hierarchy here. Like the first thing I want someone to see looking at this front cover is either the Boss Uncaged logo symbolically in the middle of the light bulb, but more so predominantly brand babies. Hence why it's big, it's bold, and again, most people read top to bottom, left to right. So looking at the essay grant, now we have the other issue to where the R, you can kind of see the R now, the A and the G starts to lose it because again now we're talking about a lighter gray value, and that lighter gray happens to fall underneath the G, and you start to lose that G. So I'm like, shit, what do I do, right? So in this case, I think the best option of the three is obviously not going to be gray. It's obviously not going to be purple. It's not going to be green. I would just say undo everything I did and go back to what I originally said with the white with the shadow behind it. It just makes everything clear. Let me just undo. Looks like I did too many undos. I'm just going to select it and make it white. Alright. And you can kind of see how that white just pops. It just makes it to where all the actual counters, all the letters are very transparent, very clear. So then I know that works. This volume 1, I'm going to go ahead and make that purple again. Alright, so for right now, pound for pound, everything for the most part has been resolved except for this bad boy right here. And I'll have to copy this over and replace this one on the top left. But for right now, I'm not necessarily doing back cover. And again, if I just need the front covers to make the 3D versions to do the A/B testing, and I could also use the front cover to essentially make the marketing materials as well, and especially once I have the 3D covers done. So that's going to be the next part of this, and I'll come back and fix this later. But for right now, I need to figure out this damn single bad boy sperm cell that's white on white. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just, I don't think it's going to work, but I'm going to go ahead and select, let me lock the sperm layer because it has something else behind it that's blocking me from getting to the Boss Uncaged logo. So I'm selecting the Boss Uncaged logo and trying not to be judgmental here, but I'm going to make it purple. And then I'm going to zoom back out. And let me click off of it to see visually what it looks like. And now obviously you can kind of see like part of the brain, the wiring of the brain or the circuitry of the brain was also white, so that blended into it. Now I could make that circuitry purple. I mean, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but is it worth me going through the hassle of selecting all these variables of this white and making it purple? So again, because again, I'm doing this for you, the viewer. A lot of times you just have to go through the pain of doing this. So I'm just going to show you like all the damn layers that go with that object. All these paths are these paths. So it's like all these little intricate little bastards. But I'm just going to select a couple of them just to kind of give it the purple look that I'm looking for, just to kind of see if it will work on the green. Otherwise, I'm just going to go undo back to where I was before. Hit that purple. So I just hit a couple of them just to kind of see if it works. And damn son of a bitch, it actually works. Which means that I'm going to have to convert all those whites to purple, which fixes my problem with having my white sperm cell, right? So ideally, what I'm going to have to do here is, and I hate this because once you get enough layers, it becomes uber annoying to kind of lock off everything and then unlock everything off to make sure. So I think this is the layer. That is the layer. And then what I'm doing is I'm dropping it down to, I'm going to the objects. And I'm just going to zoom in to make sure that I'm highlighting the right objects, and I'm going to make them all purple. So I'll probably start with this one just to make sure. Where is it at? Oh, that's not it. How about I just select one visually? Is that you right there? Nope. I'm just looking for a dot that's associated to that, and it's kind of like it's throwing me off a little bit. That's the highlight. There, that's the dot I'm looking for right there. So that little blue dot for that one damn little line is what I need to click on. So see how it has the blue dots around it now? So now I know that that's the right section. So I'm just going to hold down shift and I'm going to select a few of these. And I'm selecting them one at a time because obviously this one, well, it's behind the green layer, so I could still keep going. Keep going. All right. Again, like design from perception, like the finished product, it's always sexy. It's always, well, sometimes it's sexy. Sometimes people design some crap, but obviously at the end of it, the goal is to be sexy. But the process of making it look sexy and being like, oh my God, I love that, or it's just something about that, those lines, those curves. This is the bullshit that you have to go through behind the scenes as like a designer and you're developing. And it's the same thing with like web design and web development. On the front end, it looks beautiful, it looks great, it functions. But behind the scenes, it's always damn missing a line of code or missing a comment tag or you forgot to close out something. And it's the same damn thing with I think I selected these those are already purple, so I'm just gonna go ahead and change a bunch of them really quickly to see what else I got left to do. And all right, we're getting there. Again, this is now obviously I can do, there's a functionality that says select same fill color, but I have other things in here with that same fill color, so that's why I'm just doing it the easiest way I can right now. I mean, there's a million. This is the beautiful thing about these programs, there's a million different ways of doing the same thing. And again, like everyone was taught differently, and every version of Illustrator is different as well. So obviously, if you know a faster way for me to select these outside of saying select all the same color fills for any of my designers out there, that would be great. And obviously somebody would say, well, why don't you just lock all the layers and then hit select all? And I'm like, there's too many damn layers for me to just select them all. So I'm just doing it manually. And somebody's probably saying, well, that's why you got that problem, because you're doing it manually. And again, you kind of see these bad boys. I thought they were behind the green, and they're not, which sucks. So that means I have to go back in. And I'll probably just turn these layers off. So this is you're gone. And the cool thing about Illustrator, these little dots make it your best friend, because now I know exactly what layers I need to turn off. If those dots were in there, imagine trying to go through all this since they're all titled group. Like, why is it all titled group? That's just what the system called them by default, group. So you can actually name all these. I wouldn't recommend naming all these because again, it's just once I change it for this cover, that's the last time I'll have to touch them, because again, I have the white one already set up. So I'm just, this is where it becomes kind of tedious and anal, but all part of the process. Group, turn that bad boy off. And if you're still with me, I mean, I just want to commend you, because again, some of this shit is boring as hell. And from a design standpoint, like, it'll make you want to drink. It's not fun. So obviously this is when you're talking about hiring someone to do your design work and you're asking them a question and you want them to do something and you can't understand or comprehend why is it taking so long, or why this and why that, and you may just look at it and be like, hey, I just need you to change those white lines in that brain to purple. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. I don't see why it's taking so long. I don't understand. This is why this shit becomes tedious. And obviously there's shortcuts at times, but not every time you can actually utilize a shortcut, unfortunately. And in this case, I'm trying to be anal about it, because again, I'm going to render this out, and the next step of this is to show you guys how to take these PNGs and create transparency, and how do you design like a sticker and make them all have the same continuity, but at the same time be a new design piece that all fall underneath the same campaign or the same schematical illustration style collectively, but someone should be able to see one and realize that they're related. So I'm just going through with the motions, trying not to fall asleep. on the microphone. It's a good thing I got crack juice in my system today. So let's do that. Turn that bad boy off. Turn that bad boy off. And if you're just now tuning in, today I'm just doing like a live random workshop where I'm working on the multiple cover designs for my 10th book that I haven't even like released to the general public yet. But again, this is the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and yes, I have a staff of people that can do this for me, but ideally when it comes down to design, this is the one thing that I actually enjoy doing for myself. It kind of just gives me a time for me to kind of clear my head. So usually I'll be in the dark like this, bumping some crazy music, chilling out, and just doing this. Like this monotonous shit that I'm doing right now is not something that I particularly would brag about, but I'm more so the conceptual guy. So I'll usually look at it and be like, okay, this will work, this won't work, this looks sexy, this does not look sexy. And I think I just messed up. Yep, I did. Give me 1 second. I need to select so what I just did was I selected the wrong type of fill color. So I'm selecting this white line and I'm just gonna fill it in purple. All right, let me just keep going through this. This is where let me play some random music because this is like this is real time, and I think if I play this, it's kind of I think which one is it? I think I played it earlier on, but I'm gonna play my boy Mark Rubelet. So Mark, if you happen to be listening, Mark Rubelet, you my dude. So I'm gonna play your shit, and it gives you props. So Facebook, don't mute my shit. Okay, this is Mark. Don't mute my shit.
Out of bed, bitch. Go. Wake up, bitch. Get. Get up, get up!
That bought me some time. Gave me enough time for me to stop talking my ass off for a minute just to focus on getting the shit I needed to get done. That's my boy Mark though. Mark is the truth though. It's kind of shows you kind of the power of like branding. Like that dude came out of nowhere, was kind of like on Facebook, and he was just like doing random samples of music, and then that shit turned into holy shit. This dude is gifted. He's a damn genius, and now he's doing live concerts and he's working with and featuring with everyone from like Erykah Badu to like other household name brands that have been in the game for fucking forever, which is so kick ass that this dude came from social media and blew the hell up, killed the game. So always keep that in mind, man. Just keep on doing what you're doing, especially if you're being positive, man. Stay motivated, keep your head down, stay focused, and get the shit done, and it'll pay off in the long run. That was some words of wisdom right there. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Lenny the Boss, son. I just said some Lenny the Boss shit right there. Shout out to Lenny. Let me. All right, we're almost there. We're like down to like the last 6 damn little circles. And again, this is the type of shit like if you're not tedious and you don't pay attention, this is the type of shit that would get your ass in trouble, because then you'll have someone that does pay attention. Like usually it's a director or a creative director or an art director or somebody that's a little bit more seasoned than you are. And 9 out of 10 times what'll happen is that they'll look at that shit for 2 seconds and be like, yo, you forgot these 2 damn circles on the left hand side. Why are they white and not purple? And someone that's green is like, oh shit, I didn't see that. How the fuck you did not see that? And it's just that's the difference between someone that's seasoned and versus someone that's brand new, right? And all right, so let me zoom out of this bad boy. All right, so everything is purple on there. Let me put my sperm cell back, because again, the focal point, it should be the sperm cell that's going into it. Booyah. And the other thing I need to do with this is it has like that rough shadow behind it, and I'm not sure if that shadow is needed or not. So I just want to compare this purple bulb to the other purple bulb. And the other thing too, I think I have a glow around this one. So a cool little trick with these glows is that I can shift the colors of the glow. Let me make sure I'm on the right layer. Alright, so let me check my effects palette. I got my parents' palette somewhere. This is the drawback when you have like 6 monitors like I do. Sometimes them shits could be a damn hindrance because I don't know where shit is. Sometimes it could be on monitor 5, 4, be all over the damn place. Alright, so that's glow. Alright. Oh shit, it may look better without the damn glow. This is kind of like a Bob Ross moment, but happy little accident. Happy little accident. See, this is little shit like this to where, as a designer, you get caught up in this little shit. Like, a regular person, it'd have been like, either leave the glow on or leave the glow off, but they didn't even realize it's a fucking glow. And from a design standpoint, I'm over here going back and forth debating if I should leave the glow on or leave the glow off. Glow on, glow off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the color of the glow and give it like a purple tint and see if that gives me enough of the contrasting color that I want to associate with the glow. And again, the regular person is not going to know that shit. They're not going to give two fucks whether it has a glow or not. And it's the same thing here. Somebody would just select purple, but for me, what I'm looking for is the exact color swatch purple. So, where the hell are you? Is that my purple? Let me just make sure. I think I may have multiple purples in there. Yes, a darker purple. Yep, that little shit. And now it's overlay. So I'm going to change it from overlay to probably multiply, which will give it a little bit of darker, richer look. That's it. That little shit right there. That little shadow. Like I'm gonna turn it off so you can kind of see it disappear and then turn back on. Preview it. Let me just hit it so it'll take it. So that little shadow, like that, I mean, it is so tiny of a little nuance of like why, but that little bit of color, that changing that purple to that green, I mean, that changing that white glow to a purple glow on top of the green gives that sperm cell just enough weight. So it kind of gives it a little bit of depth and kind of gives it a little bit of that shadow behind it. In reality, I could have just left it white, but it would have been kind of starch. It wouldn't have like that range of depth behind it. So, like I said, that little shit, and I spent like what, fucking like 3 minutes going back and forth on that. Shit drives me crazy. But again, I love it. It's like a love-hate thing, right? It's kind of like if you don't have it in you, trust me, you will know very quickly if you are a designer or not. Because as you start to see shit, you're just gonna start just saying fuck it, like literally. All right, so we're getting closer and closer. And again, this is just, I'm just making it as A-B as possible. Trying to like black and white as possible. If this was a black and white picture, if I was to invert it, what am I inverting? And obviously there's some variables to that, like the SA Grant is both white because that works best for both designs with the clarity and the contrasting and being able to read everything, right? The sperm cell is looking good now. It's popping off. Let me just check the tail of it on this one. So that the tail blends in like it should. Brand babies is looking good. That's looking good now. And I'm thinking I'm missing something. Yeah, so the Boss Uncaged logo is the next thing. I just want to compare them because this one is really starch and it pops. And this one, it's like a gift and a curse. I think the shadow works on the inside, but it may not work as well on the outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this bad boy and I'm going to then deactivate the shadow just to kind of see what we're dealing with. What the hell's going on my phone? I got a bunch of fucking messages coming in, guys. Sorry about that. Let me turn off this drop shadow and let me see what it looks like without the shadow. All right, so I want to make sure I deselect it. So I can tell you right now, without the shadow, it's cleaner, right? And again, I just have enough shadow for the sperm cell, so the sperm cell becomes more of the foreground, the bulb, the brain becomes more of like the midground, and then obviously the gray and the sperm becomes like the background. So I'm going to turn back on the, I'm going to undo it so you can kind of see what that looks like. So you can kind of see inside the arrows, like, and again, those are just counters. They start to get a little bit muddy, right? So if I zoom this bad boy out, and I always kind of zoom between multiple sizes, so that way if I decide to make like a business card or make like a tag for something, at this level, the arrows are kind of there, but I guarantee you when I do this undo, or else I'll do redo, and I click off, see how defined those arrows are? And I'm talking about these little arrows right here. And again, these are the little nuanced details as a designer that you have to be aware of, because again, you're trying to infiltrate the psyche of the viewing public. So you have to take these things into consideration. What if someone is looking at it across the room, right? Again, scale, depth, and field ratios. If this sucker is across the room, it may be this size if someone is 20, 30, 40 feet away from it. So if they can't distinctly kind of figure out, like, what is that? Is that an arrow? Is that a star? Then you potentially could essentially lose them, versus like now I know it's clean. I know that it's defined. You can kind of see it as a Boston Cage logo. And obviously you can kind of see these are all sperms, and then resonate that that's a sperm as well too. And again, that comes back to that little bullshit drop shadow that I spent 3 minutes on going back and forth, because that little bit of extra detail makes that sperm cell pop off just enough for you to kind of see it visually. So let me compare them to each other again. So we're going to go with this version, which has the, did I get all three of those? Oh no, I didn't, son of a bitch. I thought I had grabbed them. So yeah, I'm talking about like the layers. I had selected all three, but it didn't bring down all three of my damn groups, which means I'm gonna have to redraw them, which can be a pain. All right, so visually, let me just zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. So now we have two covers that are essentially, for better or worse, equally yoked. And I'm talking more so about the front covers. The back covers, I haven't updated this light bulb, but pound for pound, both these covers are pretty much identical, right? Everything is pretty much stat, except for some of the inverting of certain items. Like the white type here is now purple over here. The white sperm here is now purple over here. The brain is still green on purple. And then obviously SA grain is white versus it was white before. But side by side, they're comparable. So the next thing I'm going to do is I have to make a new damn layer. A new layer comp. Well, I'm talking about web, not layer comp. I need to make a new artboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this artboard, and I need to figure out the measurements of it and the coordinates of it to make sure that my new artboard is pretty much identical, because if I copy this one, it's going to move everything on that layer down. So I'm looking at it right here. The width of it is 5 inches, 0.9782. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new, I'm just looking, I'm trying to keep it so I can kind of see the other one, because the other one is 9 point, it's at the top of the screen for those that you are looking at what I'm looking at. I'm looking for 9.1251 as far as the height. So what I'm going to do with the actual width, this tool right here, I'm just going to click this tool. I'm going to drag it out. And then it's going to show up here. And then what I'm going to do is the 9.1252, was it? I forgot. Just like that. It's so funny, I can memorize all this shit when I'm interviewing someone, but I can't memorize those damn three numbers. Let me see it. So it's 1251. And then I'm also looking at the X. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the X, because I want to make the X coordinate exactly the same, so I can make sure that when I render out these images, they're going to be exactly the same for the 3D models. And I know we haven't done the 3D stuff yet, but that's where we're going to next to kind of see what these two are going to look like, and then we're going to create the A/B testing from that. So it's 1251. I'm talking about as far as the size of this layer palette. 1251, 1251. And this is kind of going back to what I was saying earlier. You may hear me say random shit over and over again because I'm trying to keep numbers fresh in my mind to make sure that that's a 1. And then what I'm going to do is go back to the X coordinate. Boom. All right, so I know that this is the same exact as this. And so but the next thing I need to do is line it up to this artboard. So I'm just going to figure out the Y. And of course the zoom thing is going to drop down in front of me. Could you move out the way? Thanks. All right, so that's 2987. I'm going to go down to it and highlight it at 2987. Where are we at? An hour and 18 minutes. This damn thing is a long ass podcast that just keeps going. Boom. That should do it. Booyah. So you guys see that extra little grid right there? That's what I'm looking for to make sure I crop that image, and all this extra stuff around it is essentially the bleed. And again, I don't need the bleeds in this one. I'll need the bleeds for when I upload this to Amazon when we get to that point. All right, so the other part I got to do now is the damn spine. So I'm going to do the same exact thing with the spine, and that's number 11, which is right here on my screen. I can zoom in so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And I'm going to select number 11, and I'm going to get the same exact measurements. So this one, the height is 9.25. The width is, so I'm just going to copy the width. I'm going to create a new one, make it the same height, and then put the X and the Y like I did before. And then we'll have this template set up. And again, rule 1, which I keep forgetting because I'm running my mouth versus doing what I usually do, is hit save. Like I usually hit save like a crackhead, like every damn like auto save, hit save, hit save, hit save. And keep in mind, I think Illustrator's got a lot better over the years to where it kind of auto saves. If anything crashes, it'll usually take you back within minutes of where you were last through the auto save. But ideally, if you save it yourself, it'll be exactly where you are right now versus hoping that the auto save captured what you was doing. So, all right, come on. I need another track. Let me hit this track real quick. So I'll go ahead and get these measurements. And again, don't mute my shit. Meta.
Here's the game plan. You're gonna bring us 2 absolute martinis. You know how I like them, straight up. And then precisely 7.5 minutes after that, you're gonna bring us 2 more. Then 2 more after that, every 5 minutes until one of us passes the fuck out.
Excellent strategy, sir.
Until one of us passes the fuck out, 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 fuck out. Holy fucking shit. Oh, fucking shit. Thank. jerk off?
Do I jerk off? Yeah. Yeah, I jerk off, yeah.
I myself, I jerk off at least twice a day.
Wow.
Once in the morning, right after I work out, and then once right after lunch.
Really?
Okay? I want to. That's not why I do it. I do it because I fucking need to. Because I fucking need to. Think about it. You're dealing with numbers all day long. Decimal points, high frequencies, bang, bang, bang. Fucking digits. Holy fucking shit.
Yep, and we're back. Yeah, those little audio breaks definitely help me to kind of focus on what I need to get through that boring shit. So all these art boards are all set up now. So now we're going to get to rendering. And I may need to unshare and then reshare again. Alright, so yeah, I was just reading some random message really quickly. Give it a second for it to finish saving. Alright, so keep in mind, yes, I know the back cover is not done because I need to swap that out. But again, I'm not using the back cover right now. What I'm planning on doing... Hold on one second. What I'm planning on doing is just rendering out the front covers, and then I'm going to take these front covers and put them into a software that you'll be able to see, and how I create these 3D renderings to kind of make the book look 3D. And again, these are just all mock-ups. So again, I just want to do like a once-over to make sure everything is good. The title of the book is okay. That's set. That's good. The gray background, the white sperm cell. And I think this cover, I think this will look really cool and matte. And again, I'm not opposed to either one of these cover designs because I've made them both sound, right? And I mean sound, I compared apples to apples, oranges to oranges. Everything is, again, I'm talking about is the font. Can I read the font here? Yes. Can I see the font here? Yes. Does this look cool? Does this have the same dramatic effect as this one? Yes. So again, I can go with either one of them. More than likely, 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to go with both of them, and I'm going to create a workbook and create a physical book now, which is going to be which, right? Because the podcast one, I did the purple book versus the white workbook. So I may flip this. I may make and again, it comes down to you. I'm going to give it out there to kind of see which way things, because this is a similar design, but it's different as well. I mean, this one has sperm cells all over the place versus the other one was just more so 3 circles with a rocket going down the middle. So viewer input could be completely drastically different. Some people may love the purple one versus the white one with the purple cells as well. People probably don't like purple sperm. Hey, who knows, right? So we're going to find that out here shortly as well. Without me making a decision for you, you're going to make a decision for me. Appreciate you. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and file export this bad boy. I'm going to, which export should I do? I'll just do a regular save as. I'm just going to render everything out for shits and giggles, because again, I'm just keeping it short. This is the branding book. Let's see what else I got going on here real quick. Launchpad book. This is book 12. Branding. I need to renumber this to 14. So every time I create like a book, I always like number them. So this is 13, 12, and this will be book 14, or grouping of 14. So that, I'm just saying that it's not necessarily the order I'm releasing them, because again, this is going to be, the podcast book is book 9, the branding book is essentially book 10, but obviously I have an entire launch book series that this is probably the first time you even hear me speak about it, but you can see in that I have 6 books that essentially already have covers like this, already have content, and again, I could release them, but for right now, like my next speaking engagements, one is on podcasting and the other one is on branding, so it only makes sense for me to release those books versus if I was speaking on the stage about launching, then I would be talking to you about launching in my launch book series right now. So you always have to keep something in your pipeline, and again, like as a design person, and I can kind of show you visually what these look like as well, but again, I'm going off topic. Let me get back to task. I need to save this. So you guys just heard like me talk to myself like I was hearing voices, and that's what happens sometimes, right? So I told you guys earlier on that you probably hear me say some random shit, but that is the world that you're living in when you're dealing with a designer. So this one is going to be, I'll just call it cover, create. I need to export out all the PNGs. So again, I always like to do, actually I can do JPEGs for these because it's going to be used as the templates for the 3D rendering. So I'm just going to export out JPEGs. I usually try to do higher res, RGB, whatever, maximum, standard, 300 dpi. And this is like, some of this may be above some pay grades. Some of them maybe you may understand what I'm talking about right here, but ideally right here what you want to do is just do the highest quality you possibly can, so that way it'll just render out without getting any pixelations or being scalable to a certain extent, because this is not going to be vector information, this is going to be bitmap information. And the difference between JPEGs and bitmap is essentially my face on this screen is a JPEG image, multiple images of me just moving, right? Versus a vector is usually iconography, like line work, text, like the Nike logo, stuff like that, that are just clean, sharp lines. You usually 9 out of 10 times you want it to be vector, so that way you can stretch them and scale them without them getting pixelated. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK on that, and it should render. Take a minute to render. See if I got anything going on. Alright, so yeah, that's not related to this. Alright, while that's rendering, I'm just making sure I'm still live on multiple different platforms. Just giving it a second for it to export out, because I know that this video is long as hell. But again, it's Friday. It's 3 o'clock, and I've had the question of kind of behind the scenes. So you're getting the behind the scenes, raw and uncut. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can then share my browser, and I can kind of show you the next steps. All right, let me find my browser window that I want to share with you and get this Facebook thing out my way. And again, if you're watching live or if you're just now connecting, today is just kind of like a random live workshop, just kind of showing you guys like more so design of how I design stuff behind the scenes, and just kind of like my process, my thought process of what I'm doing, why I'm doing, how I'm doing it. Hopefully you can learn something from this. If you have any questions, feel free, if you're on Facebook, to go ahead and drop it in the Facebook queue. And I got so many different things running, so you should be able to comment and chat pretty much on any environment that you're in. But ideally, I got Facebook open up separately, so I'll definitely see that if it pops up. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you another platform that I use to create these 3D images. 1 second. Just sharing my browser, and the reason why I like this platform because it runs in the browser. And I got this one from I think it was Josh and Marty from Kindle Cashflow. That's when I first heard about this program. So it's called BookBrush. Shout out to Josh and Marty. Appreciate you. So you can kind of see how these are. You guys are familiar with this one, right? You've seen this whole choose one A/B testing, right? So if I wanted to do this one, I already saved it as a template in this program. All I'll have to do is click on that one. This program is kind of slow because it's a SaaS program that runs completely in the browser, which means that I can access this bad boy from anywhere. And that's what I like. Again, I don't need to have the same exact computer. I could just log in on any platform and get things done. All right, so it's loaded. So the only thing I need to do now is I need to click this one. So I'm probably gonna mix it up. I'm probably gonna make the purple on the left versus the and the white on the right, just for, you know, to make things a little bit different. Because again, people could be very biased and they go, oh, it's the same image, the same whatever, and they'll just pick A just because they thought A again. So I want to make sure that they actually do a double take and look. And obviously the design is completely different, but you kind of have to think about these variables to a certain extent. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to swap covers. And then I'm going to, and this, like I said, this program is pretty cool because all the covers, everything just loads up into this platform. So I'm going to go to my desktop. Give it a second for it to load. Let me select the drive, branding, book cover. And let me change it to icon so I can see exactly what I want to upload, because in this case I'm just uploading the front covers for now. I'm going to hit upload. Give it a second for it to load. Should be processing, but I don't see a processing bar. There we go. Boom. So for this one, I'm just going to drag and drop. Or I'll just click on it. How about that? Boom. So now we got a purple book. So this is kind of like one of those things, like once you have these templates set up, and I keep talking to people about systems, having systems in place, this is the type of shit I'm talking about. Like it makes it really easy to where after the hard work of designing it is done, now creating this post is a damn joke. Because again, I'm just clicking and clicking swap, and I'm selecting that, and then it's just going to drop it in there, and automatically, voila, I have the same exact image that I did before. So again, and the reason why I select this one, because it kind of angle it a little bit to where people can kind of look at the bottom part of the image versus just the type. And that's why I think on the other one, people were saying, well, we can't really see the type because it was the angle. But again, I want them to look at it as visual, kind of like, okay, does this attract to you? If you've seen this for sale, and if you're into this market sector, which one of these commute to you? Now that you see both of these designed on a white background, you kind of go back to see what I was saying before about being on Amazon. Now, if both of these were side by side on Amazon, by default, without, and I'm not trying to taint the well here, but by default, my eyes are going to go to this one because again, the contrasting is so starch of a difference. It is a black and white contrasting, and I can kind of see it's a light bulb. I can see that it's sperm. I can see the name. This one is good. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's so much white that it starts to bleed into it a little bit. And obviously, you may have seen sperm cells before, kind of in this environment, kind of like a gray, kind of like a X-ray kind of look and feel. And yes, the light bulb stands out. The light bulb's cool. But again, I'm trying to do it as a whole piece. And again, it has to work as a whole cohesive piece, not just one element versus the other, unless that's what I want you to look at. So in this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to then download. I'm going to save it as a new project. Just so it makes it easier so that way I don't have to re-upload the images again, even though it takes me 30 seconds to do it. I'm just going to save it as a project. It's going to process it. And sometimes this takes 2 seconds and sometimes it doesn't. All right, so that took 2 seconds this time. Yes. Then I'm going to hit download. And it's the same thing with the download. Sometimes it takes forever to process. Sometimes it just shoots out. Looks like something just beeped. All right. Did it download? Okay, I forgot to select the damn PNG. In this case, I just need a JPEG, which will help compress it down. Give it a minute. All right, save to the computer. All right, so save that one to my desktop. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm thinking about maybe potentially go back to the logos. I'm thinking about creating some kind of marketing material. So like this is one part of my marketing is saying, okay, choose a book cover, right? Choose which one, which you guys have seen before. That works well as a general strategy to kind of figure out what people are looking for and why they're looking for it and what they like. And again, obviously, it's a visual difference between these two. But the colors and the symmetry of the design, you can tell the same person designed both these covers, and that kind of goes back to brand continuity. You want someone to be able to see like your signature style. Like Basquiat is always going to be Basquiat. You should be able to see a Basquiat and know it's Basquiat. A Jackson Pollock, you should be able to look at a Jackson Pollock and know, even if the colors are different, the paints are different, you know a Jackson Pollock when you see a Jackson Pollock. So it's the same thing. And like I'm getting to the point now to where if you see a Boss Uncaged branded something, you know it's Boss Uncaged because stylistically it falls into that same criteria, that same realm. It gives you the same exact emotional feeling, even though the content is completely different. Even though the content may be visually different, but they all fall into the same category. So the next thing I'm going to do is like this one. And again, I think I made stickers with these. Let me see. I should be able to grab it in 1 second, guys. So I'll show it to the camera. It may be a little bit small, but you can kind of see like that. This is the magnet that I'm holding, right? And this magnet essentially came from that design with those two covers. Now, obviously, I want them to be uniquely different, so I may just come up with another style for it to make sure that I can kind of create a new magnet to make sure that the magnets don't look exactly the same. Because, again, the colors are so similar, because the colors are identical, that I want to make sure that they're distinct. And I probably put some sperm in there as well too to kind of just give it that little extra edge. So I'm going to go ahead and select this one. Come on. And actually, I can't even do the stickers. I forgot one step because we need to kind of figure out which way we want to go as far as making the workbook. But this is kind of the steps. I would come in here. I would, change these. Now, obviously, maybe the book may still be the purple one, and I'll just do it because there's no reason why I can't use these for something else, whether it's on Instagram or for social media later on. So I'm just going to go in and click the purple one, and obviously you can see the spine on this one. It's like, well, I need something too. And these are, come on. It's asking for picture number 2, the spine. So let me get to the spine real quick. And that's why I like these little damn details, man. If you forget them, it becomes unfortunate. So I think the purple book has the purple spine, which will be this one. Give it a second for it to load. While that's loading, I'm just checking to see what's going on over here. Alright, so this is the big ass spine, and I'm just going to select it, and it should replace this red spine with that purple spine, purple and green spine. Come on. Give it a second to process. The cool thing about internet-based software is that it's convenient, but it does drag a little bit. That is not what I wanted it to do. So let me go back and start off with 1 and need to swap the right cover, which in this case should be, this should be the, that's what I messed up. See, like that little shit, spine, they want the spine first. And then they're gonna ask for the cover. It's all in the information right in front of you. You just got to pay attention to the details and read. All right. And let me see. It's weird. It's acting funny. Because again, I need it to give me the option number 2. So option number 1 is spine. Option number 2 is front cover. Hopefully I did it right this time. Booyah. So you kind of see how that kind of just rolls in. All the colors, everything lines up as it should. That's the beautiful part about using algorithm-based stuff, because it just does it for you as it should. And then I'm going to swap the one in the back. And again, this is not the right cover because it doesn't have the keywords of workbook in it. But just for visual representation, you can kind of see how these could work together, right? And it kind of goes hand in hand with the other books that I'm doing at the same time. Again, I'm trying to do a joint release, right? Okay, I'm not trying to. I am doing a joint release. So again, I'm pre-planning and pre-doing the marketing in my mind. Okay, like how do I market both these books? What would they both look like side by side? Do they have similarities? Are they uniquely different? Does one call to one audience more than another? And that's what I'm trying to make sure is very clear and transparent between these 2 books. Because again, I'm juggling 2 books for 2 releases at the same time. So I think, yeah, this is cool. I think the front book works well as far as the contrasting, and then obviously the workbook in the background. Keep in mind, I would put the words workbook in there, and that's something that I'm going to have to work with as far as the sizing, because right now there's no room for the workbook. But the beautiful part of it, that this cover is going to be a lot larger and has more space, and I can change the font sizes a little bit and give more room to put that information in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit save this as a project, so that way later on when I get the actual workbook cover, I can come in and update the workbook cover. Alright, let's hit save on that. Alright, and I usually use Sticker Mule to kind of just render out my stuff, because they usually have some pretty cool deals. And you can kind of see this is the last sticker that we uploaded, and obviously this one will be different. I'm thinking about swapping out these covers. I may use the same exact layout for the books, but behind it I'm thinking about probably have my QR code there and probably have like random sperm cells, so it'll probably look more like a starburst, kind of like this. with all the sperm cells coming in. So the sticker is going to be kind of like more asymmetrical, kind of organic, versus this one is very symmetrical in nature. So that way it'll be a very distinct look and feel between both these stickers or both the magnets or whatever I decide to purchase from them, as far as giveaways for when people purchase the book. And when I do signed copies, I'll put the sticker in the book and stuff like that, or the magnet or whatever else. So I think that's probably coming down to conclusion, man. This was a damn long ass video. Let me stop sharing my screen for a second. We're at an hour and 42 minutes. That's definitely one hell of a workshop. That was not expected to be that long, but ended up being that damn long. So your schedule, okay. So turn my camera back on. Hey Google, turn on boss.
Okay, turning on boss.
All right. So, in conclusion and closing, obviously this was just kind of like behind the scenes, just me processing, talking about what I do when I actually design stuff. Obviously sometimes I send it to my team. When I'm working on like my personal stuff, like my actual book covers, I actually like to design my own book covers, because it's just, I know exactly what I'm looking for, versus trying to get someone to get in tune with that. Now, obviously, a lot of other things that I design, I have templates for and set up for my team to kind of execute it. So that definitely works well. But again, I love designing my book covers. It's just one of those things to where universally I'm trying to create, I'm thinking about more so, what would it look like as a poster? What would it look like as a billboard? What would it look like as a t-shirt? What would it look like as a pin, a button, a magnet, a towel? And I just kind of go through all these different variables. And that's why when I design stuff, I try to design them really, really bold, really, really distinct, really, really like on brand. So when you see it, you think Boss Uncaged. No matter where you see it, you can kind of identify it, even down to like the sneakers behind me. When I designed those sneakers, the entire time I was, freestyling and drawing out the graffiti in the book, I was thinking about, okay, the color palette needs to be like this, because I'm trying to shift them between male and female, or I'm trying to shift them between the Boss and Cage, and I want to make sure that everything is on brand. So if I'm going to design something, I have to design with the colors completely across the board. So before I even get started, in my mind's eye, I have a representation of what I want to do, and then I just kind of go freestyle. As long as I'm using the colors and I'm using the shapes and I put the logos in there, 9 out of 10 times it should come out okay. So far, knock on wood, I haven't designed something for Boss and Cage that I felt like that looks like absolute shit or crap, where I'm not like, where I don't appreciate it. And 9 out of 10 times when I start designing, the first design is always the worst design. So don't think like this book cover was my first design. Like I had maybe 2 covers before this one that was kind of cool, but they weren't Boss and Cage. And I had a conversation with Alex, and I was like, it's just, they look all right, but they don't look like I designed them. They don't look like Boss and Cage. And it's kind of like putting my signature on it, getting to the point, kind of going back to Basquiat and going back to the point of like Jackson Pollock, like the signature, like you have to have like your signature thing. And the thing is, I learned more so about signature from like Milano, like his whole signature line of clothing. He has like a signature style and distinction with his stitching and his, if you ever seen some of the tailored suits that I wear when I do my speaking engagements, see, Milano is the one that had designed them, and he has like a signature style to it. So it's kind of like, if you have a signature style to clothes and you have a signature style to art, then obviously when you're talking about branding and you're talking about book designs, you're talking about t-shirts, you're talking about your presentations, you're talking about the way you carry yourself, all of that needs to be part of your signature. All of that becomes part of your brand. So you don't want to kind of just half-ass any of that. Again, if I show up, I'm going to show up 100% Boss and Cage, no matter where the fuck I'm at and what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. It's always going to be Boss and Cage. I'm on brand 24/7. I go to sleep with it on my mind. I wake up with it on my mind, and I represent it 24/7. Because again, it's not just a passion project for me. It's about the legacy that's going to be here after I'm dead and gone. And that's something that I missed that I didn't do before. So it gives me opportunity to kind of really create these things and really put them in front of you to kind of understand like these processes and these systems are not just me talking on my ass. It's kind of, I had to learn the hard way. I had to learn how to do all this stuff through my first company, Cerebral 360, and figure out these little nuances and figure out these little hurdles and figure out these little systems and figure out like the credibility of a brand and respect the brand once that brand is established and make that brand live on forever. So, with that and closing out, signing off, S.A. Grant, over and out.